The PGA Tour is already in crisis, and 4 of the world's top players just decided they're not showing up to a major signature event, the kind of tournament that's supposed to have everyone's best. We're talking about Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Matt Fitzpatrick all stepping away from events that carry millions in prize money and supposed prestige. What's really happening is far more calculated. These guys aren't stepping back due to injury or personal tragedy. They're making a strategic decision to reject the PGA Tour's own events because the schedule is so brutal that even the best players in the world can't compete in everything without sacrificing their health. And when the defending world number 1 and a Masters champion like McIlroy both say no to your tournament, you've got a fundamental problem. This rebellion is exposing something the Tour has been trying to hide, that their players don't actually have to play their events if the majors are on the line. The power dynamic has shifted decisively away from the Tour toward its players. What we're witnessing right now is the beginning of something bigger. The Tour built this system, but it's already backfiring on them. Let's examine exactly what's unfolding. How did we get here? The answer is surprisingly straightforward. The PGA Tour created an impossible schedule and didn't anticipate their own players would call them out on it. Last year, the Tour made a major decision. They wanted to elevate their regular season events, make them feel like majors, attract the best players, and compete with the massive money being thrown around by LIV Golf. So they created something called signature events. These are limited field tournaments with massive purses, no cuts, and in theory, only the elite players competing. It sounds great on paper. In practice, it's become a scheduling nightmare for the athletes. Here's the core problem. They crammed way too many elite events into a single stretch of the calendar, and they positioned them right before the PGA Championship, one of the 4 majors that defines a player's entire season. Between the Masters in April and the PGA Championship in late May, the Tour packed back-to-back signature events: the RBC Heritage, Zurich Classic, Cadillac Championship, Truist Championship. Then immediately after all that comes the PGA Championship itself. That's 4 elite tournaments in 4 weeks, followed by the second major of the year. These aren't casual events. They're physically and mentally exhausting. Each one demands your absolute best. Playing 4 in a row before a major is utterly unsustainable. What the Tour thought they were creating was prestige and star power. What they actually created was a situation where even the best players have to make impossible choices. Do you play all 4 signature events and show up to the PGA Championship exhausted, or do you skip some and save yourself for the major that actually matters? The top players have answered, and they're choosing to skip. Let's start with Scottie Scheffler. He's the world number 1, the defending PGA Championship champion, and arguably the most important player on the entire tour right now. Scottie came out and said directly that he's not playing the Truist Championship. His reasoning was clear. He physically and mentally cannot do 4 demanding tournaments in 4 weeks. When you have a major championship as the final event in such a stretch, it creates a completely different kind of pressure. Playing high-level golf is exhausting enough. Add a major championship, and it becomes simply unsustainable. Consider what Scheffler just said publicly. The best golfer on the planet is telling the PGA Tour that their own schedule doesn't work. That's not a complaint from a mid-tier player. That's the world number 1 questioning the system itself. Next is Rory McIlroy, the 6-time major champion who just won the Masters, becoming only the 2nd player since Tiger Woods in 2002 to win back-to-back green jackets. That's historic. He earned his rest. Yet here's where it gets significant. McIlroy is choosing to skip the Cadillac Championship to prepare for the PGA Championship instead. He won't spend energy on a signature event in Miami when he could be recovering, training, and mentally preparing for the second major of the year. What makes McIlroy's decision even more telling is his past. Back in 2023, he missed some elevated events and took criticism for it. Now in 2026, with an even more congested schedule, he's making the identical choice again, and without apology, because the schedule genuinely is that problematic. Xander Schauffele, the 2024 PGA Championship winner, is also sitting out. Matt Fitzpatrick, Robert MacIntyre, and Ludvig Åberg have made identical decisions for the same reason. Majors trump regular season events. All are top 15 players in the world. All are prioritizing their bodies and major championship performance over the tour's regular season events. This is unprecedented. We're seeing the highest number of elite players to skip signature events in their entire history. It's not because these guys don't want to play golf. It's because the tour created a system that forces them to choose between their health and their schedule. What makes this even more critical is that these players aren't complaining privately. They're announcing it publicly. They're explaining their reasoning during major championships. They're communicating directly to the media. Essentially, they're sending a clear message to the PGA Tour. We don't care how important you think these events are. The majors matter more, and we're going to protect ourselves accordingly. Official response: mostly silence. That's telling, because what can they really say? They can't force their players to show up. These are independent athletes, not employees on a payroll. If the best players in the world decide the schedule doesn't work for them, the tour has to listen. Beyond scheduling, this moment represents a fundamental shift in how professional golf operates. It's about who controls the narrative, who sets priorities, and whose needs actually matter in this ecosystem. For years, the PGA Tour controlled the narrative. They created events, set the schedule, and players showed up because that's simply what you did. But now, with the majors, which the tour doesn't even control, demanding so much attention and offering so much prestige, the dynamic has shifted completely. Legacy in professional golf is built differently than in other sports. The majors are where history happens. The majors are where championships are won. The majors are what people remember decades from now. Rory McIlroy won't be remembered for winning a signature event in May. History will focus on his back-to-back Masters victories. Scottie Scheffler won't be remembered for playing in 4 tournaments in 4 weeks. He'll be remembered for how many major championships he wins and how he dominated his era. When elite players sit down and consider their career legacy, they think about majors. They think about the green jacket, the Wanamaker Trophy, the claret jug. They don't think about finishing in a signature event in March. That's simply not how legacy works in professional golf. So, when the tour creates a schedule that forces players to choose between competing in their regular season events and protecting themselves for the majors, the choice becomes obvious. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. The best players in the world are making a statement. They're voting with their calendar. They're saying no. And here's the critical part. They can afford to say no because they're the draw. Without Scottie Scheffler, without Rory McIlroy, without Xander Schauffele, these signature events become significantly less compelling, the fields get weaker, television ratings decline, sponsors receive less exposure and value. The tour created signature events to make their regular season feel more important, to keep players from defecting to LIV Golf to compete with other professional tours around the world. But in doing that, they exposed a fundamental weakness in their own structure. They don't control what matters most to their players. The majors do. And until the tour acknowledges that reality and rebuilds their schedule accordingly, this rebellion won't stop. We're not just watching 4 players skip a tournament. We're witnessing the best players in the world send a clear message. We're not following your rules if your rules don't make sense for our careers and our bodies. The PGA Tour created this situation, and now they have to figure out how to fix it before the entire foundation of their regular season collapses. Either they rebuild the schedule to make it sustainable for elite athletes, or they watch their players continue to opt out, one event at a time. What we're looking at is a fundamental power shift in professional golf, and the tour never saw it coming.